Having explained that you are the conscious being independent of the body and mind, now Lord Krishna begins to explain what is the relationship between consciousness and everything else. The next verse is Na sato vidyate bhavaha na bhavo vidyate sataha ubhayorapi drishtontaha tvanayostattvadarshibhihi. Lord Krishna says that asataha bhavaha na vidyate. Okay? That asat is something which is not there, does not exist. And sataha abhavaha na vidyate. That which is there doesn't not exist. This seems like a simplistic statement. If I tell you that the tail doesn't exist for a human being, asataha, asat is the tail of human being doesn't exist. This is true. And the hair on the head of a human being exists, provided you are not bald, of course. Then it seems, what is the big deal? But Lord Krishna says that the person who sees that is Tattvadarshi, is the one who knows the truth. So there has to be something more. It is too simple to say that the person is wise if he knows that the hair exists on the head of the person, which is there, and the tail doesn't exist. So what is it that Lord Krishna is talking about? For us, our reality is that the world is absolutely real for me. The trees that I see, the planets that I see, the animals, the human beings, the mountains, the rivers, everything seems very real to me. And that seems like the only reality. Okay? In fact, it is not as simple as that. In order to demonstrate how things which seem so real to us in fact are not so real, let us take an example of a pot. This pot seems very real to me. But if I ask you, what is this? And if you tell me that it is a pot, and if I say it is a clay, which of the two is more right? The pot and clay are not synonyms, so both of us cannot be equally right. So one of us has to be more right than the other. And who is more right? In fact, if I look at the pot and if I take out the clay, what remains? Is there any substance called pot which remains if I take out the pot? No. So therefore, I cannot claim that this pot has an independent existence from clay, okay? Nor I can say that this pot does not exist. It has this in-between reality. While it is there, it is neither totally there because it doesn't have any independent existence of clay, nor it is not there because there is a form called pot. This is exactly how the whole world is. If I look at this tangible body, as I told you before, it is nothing but cells. Cells are nothing but atoms. The atoms are nothing but particles, and ultimately it resolves into a non-substance. I cannot even find what is the final substance. So this body has this in-between reality. Not only that it is not I, but it is not even, I don't even know what is the tangible substance from which the body is made. Just as it is true with the body, you take any other body. You take the bodies of animals, you take the bodies of aquatic creatures, you take any body in the universe, it is the same. If you look at the insentient objects in the universe like mountains, rivers, again it comes to the same fact. The water is nothing but hydrogen, H2O. 2 units of hydrogen atom and 1 of oxygen. Those atoms are nothing but particles, and particles are nothing but quarks, and finally you keep on reducing it further and further until the time that you cannot have a final substance from which the whole world is made. Okay. So one thing is to understand that I am consciousness which is independent of the body and mind. But the second thing that I have to understand, that this body and mind, including all other bodies and mind and all the insentient things like the mountains and rivers, which seem so real to me, they seem like Sat, they seem like reality, but in fact they are Asat, because they don't have any real existence at all. There is only one thing in which everything resolves. Everything after atoms and particles, which even any scientist will tell you what it is, they cannot find a final substance. But we say that ultimately it is nothing but a concept, and any concept exists in consciousness. So therefore the ultimate reality is nothing but consciousness. That is Sat. That consciousness, conscious being, is never displaced by anything, whereas everything in the world gets resolved in that consciousness. This is why you can make the statement that I, the conscious being, is the truth of everything which is sentient and insentient, that is changing all the time, and while it is existing, I cannot even find the substance. So imagine what you have been thinking yourself to be is that one tiny little creature in this vast scheme of things, and through this teaching what you discover is that you are the consciousness upon which everything, whether it is sentient or insentient, exists, and nothing exists independent of you, but you are independent of everything else. This is the vision of I according to Bhagavad Gita. According to the Lord, you are that reality which is the truth of the entire universe. You are not this little insignificant human being. And therefore, as a human being, thinking that you are a human being, there is no solution to your problem of non-fulfillment. You have to know this reality about yourself. It's an already accomplished reality. What choice do you have but to know it? And this is the vision of Gita about the nature of I. Therefore, the verse, which seems to have a simplistic meaning in the sense that that which is non-existent is non-existent, and the thing which is existent is always existent, which otherwise doesn't make sense, has a very deep meaning. What it means is that this world that we think is existent, in fact is only as though existent, because when I look into any given object in the world, it resolves into something else and again something else and finally into a non-substance. What we forget at all to consider is the conscious being, which is the only thing which is existing in the universe, upon which everything else depends for its existence, and that conscious being never ceases to exist. Sataha abhavaha na vidyate. Here Sat is the conscious being which never ceases to exist. And what is Asat is the Jagat which never has a real existence. Na sato vidyate bhavaha na bhavo vidyate sataha ubhayorapi drishtontaha tvanayostattvadarshibhihi.